Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I have a treat for all of you filmmakers out there because we're diving deep into the brand new Thypoch Simera C lenses. So I've been testing out two lenses from the series, the 28mm and the 35mm primes, and I gotta say these lenses are impressive. But before we get into specifics on these two focal lengths, let me cover the whole lineup. The Simera C lenses include 28mm, 35mm, 50mm, and 75mm, all at a fast d1.5 aperture. This 1.5 aperture is fantastic because it gives you a beautiful background separation and an immersive cinematic feel. And for my kind of shooting, it kind of covers up the whole lens spectrum that I might be using at a shooting. So for example, 28 is great for wide angle shots without distorting your images, and the 75 looks beautiful on portraits. But I don't have the 75, so I don't know exactly how it performs. But from how 28 and 35 feels, I really think the 75 is gotta be probably on my favorite side. Now, another thing that's really cool about this lens lineup is the fact that they have a consistent aperture across the whole range, which is really impressive for their size and for the fact that they are t1.5, and this is amazing for low light shooting. One standout feature across these lenses is the fact that they have the 16 blade iris design, which really helps you achieve that smooth round bokeh effect that cinematographers love. It's really noticeable on the 35, especially the 28 gives you that smooth bokeh, but the 35 really brings it to the next level. And I don't want to think about how the 75 would look at D1.5, especially on the portraits. But overall, the 28 and the 35 have a really beautiful soft bokeh behind, which sometimes is a feature that you only see in very expensive lenses. Now let's dive a little bit deeper into the optics. So these lenses have been designed to support up to 8K resolution. Thypoch has also incorporated a spherical and low dispersion elements in the glass, which means chromatic aberration is minimal and the color remains rich and accurate. When I tested the 28, I noticed that the colors were really vibrant, and weirdly enough, I feel like these lenses favorize dynamic range, making it easy to film in harsh conditions, meaning your highlights will get softer a little bit and the shadow as well, which takes us to the contrast, where I think it holds up well. Usually lenses that have a more, let's say, vintage kind of like feel, they tend to have low contrast, but it's not the case with these lenses. I feel they have a vintage look, but with a very controlled contrast ratio. And for those who like to shoot handheld or on gimbal rigs, I think these lenses are a dream come true, because Thypoch has managed to keep these lenses weighted down at around 380 to 450 grams per lens. And that's all because of the aerospace grade aluminum that they used to construct these lenses. And whenever you hold them, they feel like really rugged, yet quite light, which is a really nice balance because you can use these lenses on a DJI gimbal or a Ronin 4D without feeling weighted down. And we all know what it means to carry a really heavy gear with you, because it really defocuses you from actually creating and makes you more stressed about holding the camera as steady as you can. When with these lenses, you don't have to feel that way. And speaking about compatibility between these lenses and other gear, they feature a 0.8 mod gear pitch, which integrates perfectly with the standard follow focus system. The 210 degrees focus throw is another nice touch for manual focus spool. You see, I don't really like to use focus motors on my lenses whenever I'm shooting handheld. I feel like I have a better connection while shooting to pull focus with my hand, and it's very easy to pull focus with these lenses whenever you're holding, for example, the FX6, and whenever you're pulling focus by hand. So I really like that. Now, talking a little bit more about the focal length that I tested, I feel like the 28mm is perfect for, let's say, wider shots, but the type of shots that you don't want to have lens distortion. So I think it's really beautiful for landscapes, cityscapes, or just capturing a room atmosphere. But because it's T1.5, you still get that beautiful bokeh behind your subject, and it makes this lens feel super nice. Moving to the 35mm, I think this one might be my favorite from the two because it's super versatile and I use 35mm almost all the time. Even now recording this video, I'm using a Sony 35mm, and for me, I got so used to shooting on a 35mm lens that it becomes very natural. And to be honest, I really like how this 35mm feels. I feel like it kind of has a little bit of vintage feel, but with very controlled contrast, very controlled colors. So I think it's between the balance of having a really correct lens and a really, let's say, balanced vintage look. And that is absolutely amazing. I also did a side-by-side comparison between the 35 that I'm using right now and the Simera C 35mm, and as you can see, they are a little bit similar, but if you look at the details and colors, you can see the difference and why I mean by it has a nice touch of vintage, but very controlled. When it comes to minimal focus distance, you get 0.4 meters on these lenses. And from my own experience, I think that's a little bit too big for the price you pay for these lenses. Now, they are amazing in terms of image, but for a spherical lens to have only 0.4 meters of focus distance is a little bit much for me. Now, I tested a lot of lenses in my career and I usually see 0.4, 0.5 meters at anamorphic lenses, not necessarily at spherical lenses, but I kind of understand what Thypoch wanted to do with these lenses. They wanted to have the same value over all of the lenses, so you get used to exactly the minimal focus distance and the throw is exactly the same. But if you consider how small these lenses are, I think I can understand that. I think these lenses are a strong competitor for the Cooke SP3, and they kind of look a little bit similar. If you think about it, they kind of share a similar size and similar focal length. So I think if you want to get the Cooke SP3, but you don't want to pay that much, the Simera C is probably the best option you got. And talking about the price, they are around $800 and $900 depending on the shop you want to buy them, and if you want to get the whole set, you definitely get a better deal at around $2,900. Now let me know in the comments, what do you think about these lenses? For me, I think they are great for Ronin 4D because it's a camera that I really love, but the ones that I have now are E-mount and they don't work with the E-mount adapter on the Ronin 4D, so you have to take the ones that are designed specifically for the Ronin 4D mount. Now the ones that I have are E-mount, like I said, and they work great with my Sony FX6, Sony FX3, Sony FX30. But to be honest, if I would buy these lenses, I would buy them specifically for my Ronin 4D, because when it comes to the, let's say, Sony ecosystem, you get a ton of different options that I personally think are a little bit better than what I tested.